Next portion is the reading by the pastor. Some of the experiences that I've had this past week, I've had to apply the principle of co-development as a spiritualist to put things into perspective as usual. We have to realize that everything that happens to us is not because of the kind of person we are. Things happen to us sometimes because we're just there. I remember when I was in construction and my boss was getting on me and I hadn't done anything wrong. When I left there, one of the guys that was training me, he says, you know, sometimes you're not the cause, you're just next in the door. And sometimes that happens to us in life. Sometimes we're just next in the door, and we have to realize why God has inspired us to be there. We have to look for the purpose that we were led there for by Spirit and try to do the best to be what we were led there to be. I've gone over to Bellevue, which is about an hour and a half drive, twice in the last 2 months. And it's the first time in 25 years nobody showed up for 2 classes of mine. And the lady told me when I first came over there, she says, this is a new center, and I don't have that many people, there's no RSVPs, please don't come. And I said, well, you know, I'm inspired to come over there, so I'm going to come over. I said, no effort for Spirit goes without a result, whether we see it or not. So I went over there, nobody came the first time, she was all apologetic, and I told her, don't be apologetic, we're just building energy. Went over there again yesterday, nobody came again. But what's happening, what I realize my purpose is as an experienced teacher and organizer, is to show dedication to the person that's starting a new center. She's a young girl, she's not getting very many people to her classes, she's getting a little disheartened. So when she sees me come over there and have nobody and be just as happy about being there, because I get an hour and a half drive through beautiful country over there and just meditate all the way over there, 2-lane roads, beautiful back road driving. And I sit there for an hour. I get there a half hour early and I wait a half hour late until somebody shows up. I just put on music, either do my Tai Chi or meditate for the hour that I'm there. And it's actually the only time in the week where I have uncommitted time, where I can actually sit and really relax. So that's my benefit. But the actual purpose for me being there is to show to that new organizer and give her the belief that this thing will work for her. And it is. She's starting to get people to come to her classes, and it's starting to build real slowly. So rather than be personal about what happens to you when you find yourself in these situations, try to step back and feel what God's purpose is for you there. Because that's the real way to walk your life. You can't help but have that little mannering in your mind about, gee, it'd be nice if somebody would come. There's always going to be that little mannering in there. But the heartfelt purpose is what really carries you through. So I ask you to think about this when you encounter things through the coming week and try to see that and just take a moment aside and say, what is my purpose for really being here? What does God want me to do while I'm here with this? And again, it may not be a sound in your head, it may not be a direct answer, but something will occur. And if you've got your eyes and ears and your mind open, you'll get an answer. Thank you very much. The service is comprised of 3 parts: the healing portion, the inspirational lecture, and the demonstration of spiritual gifts. We'll begin the healing portion now. I'd like to ask Marty and Judy to take their positions behind the chairs. Those that would like to receive hands-on healing, just take a seat in the chairs. They become vacant. During the rest of this part of the service, I'll be doing a guided meditation where we will try to connect in our minds with God. And when you hear this, that means one of the chairs has become vacant. You can go over there. That way you can enjoy the meditation and the hands-on healing. If you're not familiar with what hands-on healing is, it's where trained channels bring through the power of God and pass that healing energy on to you. You don't have to have something wrong with you to have benefit from a spiritual healing. You can make a better time better. So if you want a manifestation in your life or something you're trying to bring about, that works too. So please, as the chairs become vacant, He'll have a seat. The rest will begin the service. On the back of the hymnal, there is a prayer for spiritual healing. I ask the great unseen healing force to remove all obstructions from my mind and body, and to restore me to perfect health. I ask this in all sincerity and honesty, and I will do my part. I ask this great unseen healing force to help both present and absent ones who are in need of help, and to restore them to perfect health. I put my trust in the love and power of God. Please just find a comfortable way to sit and relax. As we begin to move into this portion of the service, just begin to feel the rhythmic breathing within your body. Find that gentle relaxation that the natural breathing brings for you. Just in and out, and the natural flow as you breathe. As you feel this natural rhythm of life, you begin to feel the healing aspects of just the natural breath within our body, the invigorating of the bloodstream through the lungs, the movement of all of this healing energy through the natural flow of our body, the vibrating of the nervous system from head to toe, doing the work of regeneration of cells, all the natural healing forces that work within our body. Sometimes the natural healing force is overlooked, and it has a tremendous power within our own bodies that we can call upon. So as we feel these different natural biological healing forces within our body, we begin to feel all the automatic systems, the beating of the heart, the pulsing of the blood, the movement of the energy through our bodies. As we feel these natural healing processes, we begin to feel the part of our mind that controls these natural healing processes. We begin to talk to it a little bit, almost as if it were a separate consciousness within our mind. And we begin to tell it of certain areas it may be overlooking, an ache, the pain here, an uncomfortable thought. And we begin to visualize this area that we would like the automatic mind to pay attention to. We ask it to begin to send healing forces to this part of the body. We compliment it on the work that it has done for the rest of the body. We ask politely that it pay more attention to the area of concern. As we feel this response, we feel a tingling moving down our body through the nervous system. As we feel that tingling move to the area that we had just asked for help with, we know that the natural forces, the flowing of the blood, the moving of all the natural healing agencies of the body are moving to this area. Within this intelligence, we feel our breath again. As we feel that natural breath, as we feel that natural breath, we find ourselves feeling the intelligence behind that breath. We begin to feel this natural breathing as a promise of God's, the renewal of life, moment by moment. As we feel that renewal of life, we feel the divinity within our breath. As we feel that sense of God within the very breath that we breathe, we begin to feel that connection from our mind to God's mind. Feel that connection from God's mind back to ours, that which is never broken. Only our sense of it causes it to wax and wane. As we feel ourselves drawn up into the mind of God, we see ourselves as a thought in the mind of God. As we see ourselves as a thought in the mind of God, we are reminded that this is the creative thought that allows us to be in our own existence. and only harmonious and balanced thoughts can exist in the mind of God. As we see this thought in the mind of God about us, and are reminded of the harmony, peace, and balance, we feel that thought flowing down this connection into our mind and body. That thought of balance, harmony, and health. And we allow that higher energy to be which causes our cells and body to vibrate at this rate of healing, hope, and wholeness. We feel that penetration of energy, head to toe, complete and total presence of God within our mind and soul. We feel ourselves becoming one as we were intended to be at the time of creation. No separation between body, soul, and mind. All one, balanced, each knowing its own expression, each knowing its own priority. Breathing in that balance, breathing in that hope and love. And we find ourselves in a room of silence, an area of complete silence, and we are feeling God at rest. As we feel the true nature of God, God at rest. We feel the intimacy of God within us. We feel the true presence of God at this time. We feel our souls and bodies changed from this moment forward. We feel ourselves more guided by this presence. We feel the true love and presence within us of the Spirit. As we look momentarily down the line of creation of all those who came before us, we see our past through the generations connected to us through blood and through soul. We feel all of their sacrifices, the generational blessings given to us through these past lives, these past personalities, known and unknown to us. And we feel more love, more hope for the opportunities before us, feeling the dedication and generational blessing of these going before us. As we find ourselves moving more back to the present now, we feel ourselves in the here and now and see this love and light and hope in the moment of today and the opportunities and challenges before us today. We commit to bringing this blessing of eternity, of eternal life, of eternal love from God into our actions and our opportunities. We feel this completion of the reuniting of body, mind, and spirit as it was intended at creation. Breathing it in, being more than we were when we started. Keeping this connection to the higher mind as we begin to come back gently to the here and now. Slowly integrating the senses with the higher consciousness, not sacrificing one for the other, but bringing it back to a waking state, the higher mind, allowing it to be expressed through our senses and our speech. Feeling the higher mind as we come back, re-engaging the senses, cohabitating the senses and the higher mind gently. Again, not causing one to recede while one sends, but allowing them both to come back equal, breathing rhythmically, balancing this awareness as we come back to the here and now, gently waking with both expressing through our senses and our awareness. As as we begin to close this portion of the service, I will read an inspirational passage. You cannot believe in God and keep your selfish ways. The old self shrivels up and dies upon the reborn soul. God's image becomes stamped. The gradual elimination of selfishness in the growth of love for God and your fellow human beings is the goal of life. At first you have only a faint likeness to the divine, but the picture grows and takes on more and more the likeness of God until those who see you can see in you some of the power of God's grace at work in your own life. The next portion of the service is the inspirational lecture. Today, Ashkhen Keshishian is going to be doing that honor for us. She is a certified healer of spirituality and metaphysics from the Emerson Theological Institute of California. She has been practicing the natural gift of healing for a number of years now, and is going to share a little bit about her life, where she came from, what she did once before, which is extremely interesting. So I'm not going to take up any more time. Please welcome Ashkhen Keshishian.
Good morning. Good morning. As I was thinking the other day what to talk about for this lecture today, I heard a voice saying, talk about prayer. I said, prayers? Okay. And as I started brainstorming about prayers, what to say about prayers, I heard other thoughts coming in. Ashkhen, talk about this. Ashkhen, no, talk about that. How about this subject? How about this subject? So as I was in the midst of all these thoughts, I couldn't decide which one to pick. There were so many. I heard a knock on my door. And as I opened the door, it was my neighbor. She handed me a gift saying, happy belated birthday. I couldn't get this on time to you. Here it is now. And she ran to work. As I opened the gift, and there it was, a beautiful praying angel. So that immediately validated my initial thought about talking about prayers. So what is prayer? And how does prayer work? Prayer is a communication process that allows us to talk with God. When we are praying, we establish a direct connection with God to communicate with Him. It is pretty much similar to the way we talk on the cell phone. When we want to talk to someone, we dial the phone numbers on the cell phone, and the person on the other end, when responds to the call, we establish a communication and we start talking back and forth. So when we are praying, we are communicating with God. We usually ask God for help, guidance, or to fulfill a certain need that we have. Some people pray by following certain format written prayers that are written for a specific occasion, such as there are prayers for safety, protection, strength, faith, prayers for praise. And if you look at the Psalm section in the Bible, there is about, I think, 150 prayers that are written for specific occasions. Most major religions involve prayer in their practice or rituals. The act of prayer is attested in written sources as early as 5,000 years ago. Some anthropologists, such as Edward Burnett and others, believe that the earliest intelligent modern humans practiced something that we would recognize today as prayer. So prayers existed back in the 5,000 years ago. I was born and raised as an Orthodox Christian, Armenian Orthodox Christian, and where the Lord's Prayer was the main prayer that we said in our spiritual practice. I was raised with very strong cultural traditions that was rooted deep into early Christianity. According to history, our history, my name is Ashkhen, is the name of the first Armenian queen that ruled that region in the 300s after Christ. And Queen Ashkhen was the first Armenian queen that she accepted Christianity and declared it as a state religion. So, according to our customs and traditions, as children, as we start speaking, talking, the first thing that we learn, I should say we must learn, is the Lord's Prayer. We learn the Lord's Prayer at a very young age. And we say it. The Lord's Prayer is said pretty much in all occasions. During church services, the priest starts with the Lord's Prayer and ends the service with the Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer was said during weddings, funerals, baptism. Pretty much when the priest visits the houses to bless the houses, he would start with the Lord's Prayer and ends with the Lord's Prayer. So as a child, I had this personal connection with this prayer. And every time I said the prayer, I would feel good. I would feel something that happened in me that made me feel better. I said the prayer in the mornings before I ate my meal, and I said the prayer at nights before going to bed, knowing that when I said the prayer, I'll be safe. The prayer is a universal prayer that covers pretty much all that we need in our life. And the way the prayer is written, it is a universal that includes everyone. So when I am saying the prayer, I'm not just saying it to myself, but including everyone in the prayer. As I grew up, I took this prayer with me everywhere I went. When I started my spiritual quest and got into the metaphysical studies, this prayer went with me everywhere. When I first learned how to meditate, I always said the prayer first and then went into meditation. So it remained part of me. One day, I was at a New Age Expo, Holistic Expo in Los Angeles. I think it was back in the mid-90s. There was a 4-day conference that was going on. There were many lecturers, teachers, speakers that had come from pretty much all over the state. There were workshops going on about the spirituality, holistic living, and the New Age movement that was on at that time. So there was a lot going on, and I was just getting fed with all these information. And there were also vendors that they were on the lower level of the hotel where the conference was being held. And I went, as I started going through the vendors, they were selling all kinds of related items to the conference, accessories, books, literature, clothing, music, CDs. So as I was walking by, I came to a book stand where I noticed a book that intrigued my attention. And as I got closer to that book, the title read Universal and Kabbalistic Meditation on the Lord's Prayer. And the minute I saw the Lord's Prayer, I did not need to look in the content of the book, so I went right away. I picked it up, I purchased it, and I rushed to my room as if I found a treasure and I wanted to see what was inside that treasure. And as I opened the book and started going through the pages, I was enlightened big time. I just saw that I found out that the Lord's Prayer is connected to our chakras in our spirit body, and every time we say the prayer, and each phrase from the prayer, it actually balances and it heals a specific chakra in our spirit body, and our spirit body helps us to heal our emotional body, mental body, and physical body. So to me that was truly enlightening, and my connection to the prayer became even stronger. Before I said it with blind faith and with love, and now when I say the prayer, I get really in tune and I go deeper, and I know that something really major happening, healing happening every time I say the prayer. So I still say the prayer wherever I am. There are also many books that talk about prayers, books that say, talk about the power of prayer, books that say prayer works, answered prayer. So how does prayer work? In order for a prayer to work, there are 3 steps that are important and we must consider during the process of prayer. First, we must acknowledge that there is God. God exists within our reach. We must know that there is a greater supreme force that governs us and the entire universe. And we have the option to communicate with God anytime we choose. As it says in Hebrews chapter 11:6, anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. Second, we must pray with confidence and believe that God is listening to us. We must have faith that God will deliver answer to our prayers. And in Ephesians chapter 3:12 says, in him and through faith in him, we may approach God with freedom and confidence. And also in Hebrews chapter 4:16 says, let us then approach the throne of grace with confidence, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. Third, we must pray with expectations that God will deliver us our needs. We can't just say the prayer and forget about it. We must just wait, listen, and expect. And in the Psalm section, chapter 5:3 says, in the morning, O Lord, you hear my voice in the morning. I lay my request before you and wait in expectations. So when we are expecting, we will receive, and having the confidence that we are going to receive, we will receive. So these 3 keys are very important while we are engaged in a prayer. So now I'm going to explain what does exactly happen during the prayer. I'm going to talk about the actual mechanism of the prayer. We usually turn to prayer when we have utilized our human resources. In other words, when we tried all the power that we have in our mind, trying to solve a problem or a challenge. It could be any challenge or any problem. It's a health challenge or a situation that we're trying to fix it and we can't. So when we reach to a dead end that we can't deal with it anymore, and knowing that there is higher power, there is God, we turn to God. And the minute we turn to God, we let go of our human limited self, and we turn to our spirit. It is through our spirit that we can communicate with God. So when we turn out to our spirit acts as our cellular body. Like the cell phone, our cellular body, our spirit, connects us to our higher self, to our I am presence. And once we do that, we establish the connection. So what is the I am? I am is the source of all knowing. When we connect to the I am presence, we are connected to the entire universal power. You want to call it intelligence, supreme power, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. So we connect to that entire force that governs us. And when we are in that state, it is infinite possibilities. There is infinite possibilities that all things are possible. The I am was first revealed to Moses when he was praying in Mount Sinai at the burning bush. Moses heard a voice, God talking to him. When he was praying for guidance about his people, and he heard a voice coming from the burning bush. And in Exodus chapter 3, 4:16 says, God revealed to Moses, I am who I am. I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, God of Isaac and Jacob. God said, tell to your people, my name is I am. Forever, the name by which I am to be remembered from generation to generation. We all have that I am, don't we? I am speaking. You can also say, I am listening. So the I am is the individualized God within each one of us. And Jesus demonstrated that truth when he said, I am light. I am the truth. Jesus used the term I am to proclaim his divinity. He connects himself to his aspects of God's nature and with God's eternal existence. And he also said, you can do what I do. He just showed us what to do. So since we all have that I am presence in us, within us, which is our higher aspect of our godly self, then we also can connect. We can have access to that presence anytime we choose. So when we connect to our I am presence during the prayer, which is God, we are opening ourselves to that infinite possibilities because we are connected to the source that all is and all there is. So in that I am state, usually we listen. That's what I do when I am praying and meditating. I say my prayer, and when I reach in my I am state, I just become quiet and I listen. That is a meditative state that we reach, which is the highest. And as we are listening, we hear God speaking to us, answering to our prayers with positive affirmations. At the beginning, when we ask for strength, we hear God saying, I am strong. And we are listening to all this positive affirmation. I am capable of handling my challenges. I am healthy. I am happy. All these positive affirmations started coming through our spirit body, our cellular body. It transmutes to our cellular memories, and through that goes to the neurons. It transmutes to the neurons in our brain, and eventually it goes through the thinking process. So by the time we are done with the prayer, we have all these positive thoughts and affirmations in our mind. That's the only thing we hear. I am strong, I am happy, I can do what I want to do. And as we absorb and we put all these positive affirmations into action, and there we go, our prayer is manifested. Any positive action, the result is success. So by applying those affirmations into our action, we can achieve anything that we want. Any goal that we have, we want to achieve, it becomes possible. Yes, prayer does work. There are many evidences that people were healed with prayers. Dr. Emoto, I think his last name, back in, late 90s, he did a scientific proof that prayers heal the waters. And every time he said a prayer, the vibration that were coming from the prayer formed the crystals in the water, which then purified the water. So prayers are said in groups or alone. We can pray in groups where one person leads the group. That's usually done in churches or spiritual or religious organizations. We can also pray alone or in isolation. Usually prophets or spiritual leaders who have greater mission in their lives to assist others, they pray in isolation to establish a stronger connection with God. And they pray frequently, more than the ordinary people. As is the case with Moses, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, and other enlightened masters that have achieved self-realization. They often communicate with God and pray to God for assistance so they can be of assistance to those who are seeking enlightenment. So in conclusion, regardless of which faith or religious background we belong to, when you acknowledge God with faith and confidence and believe that God listens and delivers your prayer, open that line of communication if you haven't, and establish that call, that connection with Him And know that no matter how far you roam, your connection with Him will never be lost. You may lose a connection when you're talking on the cell phone, but this connection that you establish with God will not be lost, I guarantee you. Whether you pray in a church, in a synagogue, or an ashram, or alone, it doesn't matter. Wherever you are, you can establish that connection. So make that connection. And when you pray, pray wholeheartedly. Pray with feelings. Pray with emotions and confidence and faith. And when you pray with all of your heart, you can expect miracles. Miracles do happen when you are asking for God for something that you really love and you want. It will be granted to you. Your prayers, believe that your prayers will be answered in the order which it was received. And yet better, prayers will answer in divine timing. So I hope I said enough. God bless you, and thank you for listening.